This is a custom video desk setup I built for under $2,000. It includes everything you need to film videos, run live streams, and look great during video meetings. And in this video, we'll take a look at the gear I used for this desk, how to put it all together, and what the final setup looks and sounds like. And when I say this desk has everything, I really do mean everything. The only item not included in that $2,000 price tag is a computer. That's right, desk, monitor, camera, lighting, audio gear, and even a chair for under $2,000. I've done several crazy video desk setups here on the channel, but wanted to share something that was simple and easy to put together without spending hours building something super custom, but also something that was affordable and wouldn't break the bank. So this is what I came up with. And if you already have a desk, monitor, and chair, this whole setup would set you back around $1,200. So let's go ahead and dive into the gear I used for this desk setup. Then we'll get to building it. And finally, we'll take a look at the video quality, the audio quality, and how to use the gear. This is the FlexiSpot sit stand desk. It costs around $250, which is pretty incredible given how good this thing is. I purchased the 48 by 30 inch model in black. You could also get it in white, but that will probably bounce a little bit of light underneath your face and could add a few video pounds to your chin. For $250, I am floored with the quality of this thing. It has a smooth power height adjustment motor, clean controls, and the construction of the desk was fast and easy. If you want a rolling desk, I found a set of casters that fit the desk and work great. The only downside is that the desk gets raised slightly, so if you're under 6 feet tall, I would probably skip this or buy a keyboard tray. Next, we have the monitor setup. I bought a 27-inch BenQ display for $280. It has a resolution of 2560 by 1440, so not 4K, but definitely better than HD. To mount the monitor to a desk, I bought a simple 24-inch Vesa mount arm, which works great. Now let's talk about camera gear, and in my opinion, right now, the easiest to use, most budget-friendly, best-looking camera is the Canon M50 Mark II. If you have a little more to spend, the Sony a6400 is a great option with 4K, but at $600, the M50 Mark II is phenomenal. For a desk setup like this, there are 3 budget lenses I would recommend looking into. The 15-45 kit lens, which can be purchased with the camera for an additional $100, the Canon 22mm f2, and the Sigma 30mm f1.4. The 15mm is by far the widest and cheapest, but at f3.5 it's pretty dark. The Sigma 30mm is much brighter and gives you more shallow depth of field at f1.4, but the field of view is just too tight at 30mm. And finally, the 22mm is the Goldilocks lens. Wide enough for a desk setup, and f2 is plenty bright with good shallow depth of field. Here's a side-by-side of each lens to get a feel for the focal length as well as the depth of field. To use this camera with your computer, you have 3 budget options. The first is to just use a USB cable and install Canon's free webcam utility. This will turn your camera into essentially a webcam and can be used with popular video apps like OBS and video meeting services like Zoom. The only downside to this option is resolution, which is much lower than Full HD at 1024 by 576. The second option is to turn off HDMI info in the camera and buy a cheap capture card. These can be had for as little as $15 online and are better in the resolution department, but for some reason the saturation is crazy jacked up. You can combat this with your camera's picture profile settings, but a better option would be to upgrade to the Camlink capture card. This will set you back between $100 and $130, but offers full resolution without changing the saturation. Here's a side-by-side of each option so you can see the details and make an educated choice. To power the M50, I purchased a cheap dummy battery kit on Amazon. This under $20 adapter will allow us to run the camera as long as we need to. To mount the camera to the desk, I bought several of these new desk clamps, but found the VGym stand to be the clear winner for $35 to $40. It has a ball head on the top and enough height to clear our monitor. Next up, we have lighting, and I have to say, I'm really proud of the lighting kit I put together for this desk setup. First, we have another desk stand. This time I used a Neewer 21 to 47 inch stand, and the one and only light for this setup is a Trevor bicolor flexible LED mat. It is plenty bright for this setup and can change color temperatures depending on your room and lighting conditions. The controls aren't the greatest as there isn't a display and the CRI isn't the highest out there, but for $90 you just can't beat this thing for a budget video desk light. Unfortunately, this LED mat is pretty small for what I usually recommend and isn't soft enough, so we are going to fix that with a softbox. I bought a Neewer 32-inch softbox, gaff taped the light inside, and used the included flash stand mount to attach the whole setup to our stand. This turned out great, and I love how lightweight and clean the whole setup is. By adding the softbox, we are going to get a larger, softer light source. Here's the light on its own, and here is the light with the softbox. As you can see, it is much better. I ran the power cable and the controller out of the back of the softbox and velcroed it to the light stand. This allows you to easily reach over, turn the light on, and adjust the brightness and color. Now it's time to talk about audio gear, and we'll start with the microphone, which is going to be a bit of a curveball. For this setup, I am using the Behringer Ultravoice XM8500. That's right, a dynamic microphone that is often used for singing. But don't let the look of this $20 microphone fool you. This thing is incredible. It is well made, very affordable, and when you hear this microphone, I think you'll be surprised by the audio quality. This microphone is designed to be used close to your mouth, and I know, a lot of people don't want a microphone in their shot. But by using this microphone and using it close, you almost completely eliminate background noise. As an example, this is a keyboard with Cherry MX Blue switches, which are quite loud. If I take this keyboard and put it behind the microphone, however, there's a pretty big difference. This is not nearly as loud as it was before. Another thing I can do is move around the microphone, and you'll start to hear the fall off or rejection. So right now I'm talking directly into the microphone. As I go off to the side, you should hear a pretty significant drop off as I come back around, and now we're back to where we started. Same thing goes if I start to just back up. You'll hear how quickly the audio falls off. So I'm in my normal standing position. I'm going to take 1 step backward and 2 steps backward and 3 steps backward and 4 steps backward. This is amazing if you're in a noisy house or office, or you've got dogs or kids or traffic outside. You're really going to only pick up what's right here in front of the microphone, as opposed to hearing all that other stuff. There are, however, 2 downsides to this mic. First, it needs a lot of preamplification to work well. In other words, it's a quiet microphone. The second is that plosive sounds such as T, K, and P are pretty harsh. We're going to fix both of these with the rest of our audio gear, which you'll probably need to purchase anyway if you went with a different microphone. To connect this microphone to your computer, we are going to use an XLR cable and the Behringer UM2. This is a simple USB audio interface that costs between $30 and $50. It allows you to boost the signal from your XM8500, as well as having several other features like phantom power, a headphone jack for 0 latency monitoring, and an instrument input. There's a direct monitoring button which allows you to hear yourself while using the microphone, which is great for podcasting and live streaming. If you feel this interface isn't enough to boost your XM8500 or want louder, cleaner sound, you can use this $90 Triton FedHead to lift the microphone by an additional 27 dB. I know, $90 accessory for a $20 mic seems silly, but I'd argue this setup sounds better than microphones in the $250 to $400 range. Now let's do a comparison with the FedHead and without the FedHead. So currently I have it plugged into the back of the microphone. The knob on my preamp is at 50% on that UM2, and it's working pretty great. It allows me to lower that audio level. Hopefully it's cleaner than without the microphone or without the FedHead. Now I'm going to remove the FedHead, and you should hear a significant drop in signal. Now I have removed the FedHead, and I just turned up the preamp. I'm now at probably 75 to 80% on the knob. It looks like I might even need to turn it up a little more. So using this little FedHead here, this little adapter, really does make a huge difference in getting that audio level to a usable height. If you're just recording videos on the camera or editing them in post, you could get away without this. But if you're doing live streams where the sound is live, you might consider picking one of these up so you can get a nice juicy signal, because you want that audio to be loud enough since you're not going to be able to edit it in post. If you do go with the FedHead, you will need to turn on the 48-volt phantom power on your UM2 to activate it. Next, we are going to add a pop filter to this microphone. I found this one for $12 on Amazon, and I love how minimal it is. No giant squeaky arm, and it moves easily with the microphone. Here's a before and after test using the filter. Pickles and pineapples do not belong on pizza. Plosive test. Pickles and pineapples do not belong on pizza.
explosive test.
And finally, to mount the microphone to the desk, I grabbed a $13 mic arm so that we can easily manipulate the microphone's position. When you're not using the mic, it can be tucked away easily on the side of the desk. So that covers all of the parts. When it comes to assembly, really it couldn't be more simple. Attach the camera clamp stand to the desk, add the dummy battery adapter to the camera, mount it to the stand and attach a lens, connect the camera to a computer over USB and install Canon's webcam utility, or use an HDMI capture card with the camera's HDMI info turned off. Tape the LED mat inside the softbox, mount to the desk with a stand clamp, make sure the light is off to one side and behind the camera's flip out screen, attach the monitor Vesa mount and display to the desk, add the microphone arm, pop filter, and XM8500 to the setup, connect the UM2 preamp to your computer and use an XLR cable to connect the UM2 to your microphone. Optionally, you can use the FedHead adapter in between the microphone and UM2 to lift levels. Tidy up cables and light controller with Velcro, and finally, roll up your chair, and just like that, you've got a killer video desk setup for under $2,000.
Now let's see what this setup looks like and sounds like. For reference, the only thing turned on right now in this room is the built-in lights here in my office. I'm gonna go ahead and turn on our key light, and we adjusted our settings for that key light, and now things are looking pretty nice. So we've got this softbox, beautiful soft light, and I still have the ceiling lights on behind me. So this is kind of a nighttime, there's no windows, everything's closed up setup. Now we can go ahead and switch to a daytime setup. So I'm going to go ahead and open a window just like that. And now, since we have a bi-color light, I can adjust the light temperature and make sure it's nice and cool and matches the background. So I change the light to now match the window light. Now I can change my camera's white balance to match this daylight. And now we have everything matched. We've got daylight coming through a window. We've got our light set to daylight, our camera's white balance set to daylight. And I think this looks pretty great considering how affordable all of this gear is. The other thing going on is our microphone. We're using the 8500 without that FedHead adapter, so I'm having to turn my preamp up pretty high. But I think it sounds really, really good. My MacBook Intel version is screaming over here in the corner of the desk and is really not picking it up. There's also traffic outside, but because we have this microphone close and because of the way this microphone is designed, we have great rejection. The other thing is acoustic treatment. So right now you're pretty much listening to a bare office room that's pretty large. So normally you would pick up a lot of reverb, but not with this setup. So again, this is kind of the daylight setup. Let me close this window, turn on the house lights, and change the color of my light. Harley Davidson going by. Let's see if we can pick it up. He's really hauling out there. Anyway, we're back to the kind of night mode. Window is closed. We've got our warmer lights going on. So this is a phenomenal setup. If you're in an office or a bedroom or wherever where you've got mixtures of artificial light as well as natural light, this setup allows you to control and match everything, which I think is great. You don't have to wait for it to be daytime or only nighttime to film. Now I'm filming a video here, so I'm actually recording on the camera, but I'm recording the sound on my MacBook. I could also record the video over that Camlink capture card if I wanted to. And obviously, if you're doing a live stream or a web meeting, you would use either Canon's webcam utility or something like the Camlink to pull the feed into your computer.
So that is the final setup. I think for $2,000, this is a pretty great kit for someone to be able to get up and running and just throw a computer on there and you're done. So I hope you've enjoyed this desk build. I've got more planned in the future, so make sure you're subscribed. If you want to learn more about the gear I used, I'll list everything down below in the description. I want to thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and we will see you in the next video.